Hello and welcome to Adoption Pop. We're a podcast journalist,
a filmmaker,
and a cultural critic burst pop culture's favorite adoption tropes.
Because we're adopted.
Not only are you both adopted, you are also both married. How did you meet your husbands?
I met mine in university. We had a lot of classes together, and our first date was October 25th, 2001. So two months into school.
Who talked to who first?
I actually met Nick's dad first, and I went to a small Christian private school, liberal arts university, and they had chapels that were mandatory, and one of them was where the local pastors would come to the school, so you could kind of, it was just the beginning of the school year, so you could kind of figure out if there was, a pastor you liked, you could try out their church. And so I sat at Nick's dad's table and visited with him, and he was like, oh, my son's going here this year. He pointed to him from across the room. No idea who he was pointing at. So that's who I met first. And I don't remember who talked to who first. But Nick did ask me out on a date. He called me. We lived in dorms, not in the same dorm, but on campus. And he phoned me and asked me. And our first date was at Boston Pizza.
Good old Boston Pizza.
Is that a Canadian thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started in Edmonton, and it's like a major chain in Canada, chain restaurant now. Yeah. How about you, Kristal?
He poked me on Facebook. Do y'all remember the pokes? He and we became friends and, started dating, and he was he was wonderful. He loved Peyton. I think I've shared with Haley before that he would come over to the house and he'd bring me a bouquet of flowers, and then he'd have a little mini bouquet of flowers like made for her. And he was just so wonderful. Like, he'd show up at my door with groceries and diapers, and then the rest is history. We got married.
Well, good job, Stuart. These feel like, or certainly Facebook Facebook pokes, and the like feel like very old school ways to meet a partner. According to Forbes magazine, around 80 million people, that is 30% of the adult population in the U.S., is on a dating app, with 10% of partnered adults reporting that they met their significant other through a dating site or an app. Of course, one might skip university, friends, apps, and head straight for reality television. What happens when an adopted person looks for love while millions tune in to watch? Today, we're talking the Netflix series Love is Blind. The pods are open. Haley, how would you like to kick us off?
Okay, people might not know this about me. I love reality TV to an extreme level where I listen to podcasts that recap reality TV, and sometimes I don't even watch the reality TV. Anyway, Love is Blind. I remember watching the first season. The premises of the show, if anyone hasn't seen it, is they have a group of men on one side who all sort of ostensibly live in the same apartment, and a group of women who all ostensibly, it's not true, live in the same apartment. And they go into these pods, as you say, where there's a couch. It's a nice little decorated room, probably the size of my office, and you talk to your potential dating match through a screen. So you never see them. You only hear their voice. The producers give you questions and ideas of how to interact with these folks, and people make love matches to the point where they propose. And the first time they see their love in real life is after they're already engaged. It is wild. Then they go to a sunny destination where they get to spend intimate time together. They get to meet everybody who they also dated in pods. And decide who they gave up on and whether they're hot and maybe we made a mistake. I don't know. Then they have a month back home. They have a month back home where they have an apartment. They meet each other's friends and families. They plan a wedding. And then at the altar, this is the dramatic thing we've all seen clips of on social probably. Folks decide there, again, ostensibly, whether or not they're going to say, I do. And I keep saying ostensibly because reality TV is fake. The producers only show us what they want to. There are strings being pulled behind the curtain. And while we are talking about real people today, I'm coming to it with, we are seeing a character portrayed. We are not seeing the full humans. And so take it all with a grain of salt. These are real people and they get a lot of shit for their portrayals. We have villains on the shows. We have people we fall in love with because we just see the nice parts of them. But they're real humans and they're not actors playing characters.
I will also say I was a little curious because if you've never watched the show and you're hearing Haley talk about this for the first time and you're thinking, you got to be joking me right now. Reportedly, 25 to 30% of Love is Blind US couples are still married, still together today, which is a higher percentage than I would have thought. There have been multiple seasons. This show also, while it started in the US, has actually now gone global as well. And in fact, the episode we're talking about today, or the season we're talking about today, is the first season in the UK, but they have been elsewhere around the world. And if you take all of the Love is Blinds globally, 58% of couples are still together. Which is a pretty high percentage, I think, for reality television ostensible love matches. And there have been 8 Love is Blind babies to date, born to couples who got together on the show. So, I mean, I guess maybe it works. I think perhaps for some people, perhaps for some of the couples that were on Love is Blind UK season 1, including Catherine and Freddie.
Okay, can I just say something real quick first? I've never even been on a dating app ever. So when you're talking about the stats of people being on dating apps, like that is such a foreign experience concept to me. No, dating changed pretty well right after I got married, like for the second time. And wow. And then the second thing I wanted to say or ask the two of you is, which is your favorite stage of Love is Blind? The pods, the holiday, or the living together? Mine is the holiday.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I love the pods the best. And I know I've complained about this to several people. I think when my sister was here, we talked about this. Netflix has the data of when we're streaming the show and what parts we fast forward. Because believe me, when they're picking wedding dresses and I don't care, fast forward. Even in the wedding episode, I like fast forward to the altar to some of them because I'm like, I don't care. Or did they get married? No. Okay, fast forward. So there's a lot of time that could be cut down. I love the pods. Sullivan, what about you?
This is a really hard question, Kristal. I think it is also the honeymoon or the holiday. I think it is also because for me, the pods last a little too long because
I agree.
I can see some of it coming. Like some of it is very obvious to me. It has been edited for the purpose of creating drama. Like there's no way she's ever going to say yes to that guy. Like he's an asshole or like he's ridiculous or she's ridiculous. Like there's no way. And I feel like a lot of it is just drawn out because they have signed, they've signed on for 12 episodes, so they need 12 episodes, so they're going to find them somehow. So yeah, for me, like that pods are a little bit long, so I think it's the holiday for me too, Kristal.
I do love the parties when they meet each other in real time, like the other couples. I love that. And often at the end of a season before weddings, I guess the bachelorette parties or something, they'll have the folks called the pod squad who did not get in a relationship or were not followed past the engagement. And I love seeing those.
So let's get into who Catherine and Freddie are. Catherine is the adoptee. She's a dental nurse. Freddie is a funeral director. And not only is he a funeral director, he may be the hottest funeral director in the entire world.
Why do you think funeral directors aren't attractive?
Because every funeral director I've ever met has been old and bald.
Why do you think bald men are unattractive?
Like, get off my jock. What? Why are you all up in my grill? I don't think bald men are unattractive. But you want to know what I do think is unattractive? Is when you are clearly bald and you haven't accepted it yet, and you're letting yourself look like a cul-de-sac. This is not okay with me.
Look, we all have preferences. And, I hope you don't. Stuart's a good looking guy for sure. But Stuart has a full head of hair, and I'm going on record for the bald guys. Like I love a bald guy. Like, what can I say? Like, I think bald guys are hot.
I don't hate bald guys.
And also, we both love Nick, and Haley also loves Craig T. Nelson also. But I just felt like I just felt like we may have some men out there listening who are bald, and I just felt like they needed some love. I wanted to make sure they knew that they had love on this pod. That's all.
I just want to make a public service announcement that if you are bald and you are trying to pretend like you're not, it has to stop. It has to stop.
And
you heard
know
it
what?
from me.
And Kristal is all around. She will tell anyone. She told me I was losing my hair. I mean, she will tell anyone. So just know, Sullivan, this is just not against bald men. It's against anyone with hair loss. So trust me.
It's the hairdresser in her.
Impassioned topic for her. So anyway, Catherine and Freddie meet. Freddie is the literal hottest funeral director in the world. And Catherine discloses she's adopted to him. And I believe the first words that Freddie says are, "I'm sorry." Yeah. Have you ever heard that before?
That's literally my experience every time, all the time. I hear about adoptees whose their experience, the first words are, "You're so lucky." That was not my experience. Catherine, he says, "I'm sorry." And then right away, she wants to soothe him. Like, no, it's okay. No, it's okay. And I'm like, that is what I experienced. That either people said, "I'm sorry," or the look on their face said, "I'm sorry," in which the first words out of my mouth were, "Oh no, it's okay. I wasn't in an orphanage or anything." Which I think we've talked about. Yeah, that's totally what it is. 100%. First words out of my mouth. And I think we've talked about that on a prior episode, that, there was this idea that somehow, that idea of luck was definitely there. Like I could have had it bad. I could have been in an orphanage, but I wasn't. So like right away I had to assuage people's concerns that no, my life wasn't bad. I was not in an orphanage.
And I think she said, "I'm adopted." And then I believe she immediately said, "But it's okay." Like she almost was anticipating that he was going to have some sort of, negative reaction. And then he says to her, "How do you feel about that?" And I love him for that, because no one ever asked me how I felt about being adopted. Like, come on, this guy.
So we have in the same episode, I believe, two other characters who are talking about family building. And we don't have to go all into it, but they come to a point where they talk about, well, maybe if biological kids aren't on the table, it might be difficult. We could always use surrogacy, or we could adopt. And this sort of placates, and it's like, oh yeah. And the man in that, when he expressed a desire for a child, he says something to the effect of, I want my DNA passed down. I want a mini me. He says those similar to those words. And then adoption's just like, yes. So we have presented to us, I'm adopted. I'm sorry. First reaction. Let's adopt. Great. Checks my box. I said I want my own DNA, but adoption checks my box. These are such mixed messages we're getting from the public, and we get these messages too. Oh, I'm so sorry you're adopted. Oh, you're so lucky you're adopted. Like, how do you really feel? Of course, as adoptees, this makes us feel weird. What do you really believe?
One other thing that Catherine and Freddie go through in that conversation is, she has her direct to camera conversation as well with the producers. And she talks about looking in the mirror and wondering, who am I? And seeing other families that look alike, and that's not her case. And she actually breaks down and she starts to cry. And then she says that men find out I come with baggage because I'm adopted. And so I'm curious. I know it has been a long time for both of you, but do you remember disclosing to your husbands that you were adopted? Like, when did you talk about it? Talk about that experience for both of you.
I remember telling Nick pretty early, and for me, it was still a fun fact about myself. It was still like, I've been to Europe, I've seen the pyramids, and I'm adopted. Like, it's just a fun fact. And in the same time that we were dating, I applied for my identifying information from the government. Not identifying first. So I had just turned 18. I applied for my paperwork and I got my non-identifying information, which meant your parents' characteristics and those kinds of things. No names. And so I received that information while dating Nick, and it was all just interesting and wondering. And it was all very positive. I don't remember feeling negative at all. And he never expressed any like, oh, I'm sorry, or none of that. Kristal, do you remember telling Stuart?
I don't specifically remember telling him, but I do know that I probably told him the very first time we talked, because that was also something that I always disclosed right off the bat. And I always felt like, again, like what you said, I felt like a fun fact, but I always felt like I was extra special because I was adopted.
Kristal, you are extra special.
You're extra special. You're the most special.
Thank you. Thanks. See, you girls are like my older sisters, just lifting me up all the time. I love it.
Got to remind everyone that we're older.
But you are not bald or balding.
Just I is balding.
Can I just say,
but I'm older. But I'm older though.
I have my flaws.
Could you enumerate them, please?
No, telling Stuart you were
but
adopted.
I just want to really
Focus.
quickly say, you did ask me about your hair. I wasn't like, oh, Haley, I have noticed that you're a little thinner than you should be.
Kristal.
That did not happen. Yes.
Kristal, I did not ask you about my hair when you presented that information to me.
What did I say?
you were doing my hair
Yeah, and what'd I say?
and you said, you definitely have some thinning going on. And
That's a hairdresser thing to say, though.
It's true. Say it
That's
in
a
like
very
a nice
hairdresser
and
thing
then
to
I
say.
and then I asked you, like, oh, what could I do? Like, I asked you
Yes.
after that, oh dear God, like, what could I do? Because no woman wants to hear that. Anyway,
Okay.
please go back to Stuart.
Moving along. So his response to me was very positive. It was, oh my gosh, we have a lot of adopted family members in my family growing up, and it was all positive. But can we just talk about how they discovered, Freddie and Catherine discovered that both their grandparents shared the same name, which led her to bawling her eyes out, which I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be an asshole.
Catherine's a crier. Catherine's a bit of a crier. And lest anybody think that we're making fun of another adoptee, in the reunion, they actually point out to her that she's quite a crier. She acknowledges and is able to, in fact, laugh at herself a bit that she's a bit of a crier on the episode. What I thought was interesting, though, to your point, Kristal, about their kind of like, oh my God, our grandparents have the same name. Oh my God, is a lot of his language, Freddie's language towards Catherine, because in fact he goes on to propose to her. They fall in love very early on in the pods. Very briefly, she pursues or she's exploring with another person, but she turns her attention to Freddie. They fall in love. He proposes in the pods. And a lot of his language is about sort of destiny and fate. And I really felt like I felt like I could see in her face her welcoming this language that was about being chosen as an adopted person. And also not only being chosen, but something about, reaching across time and space, right? This like ethereal, it's fate, it's the stars, it's destiny, which, like, as an adoptee, really felt like something to me. Like, it felt like he was speaking. And by the way, I think Freddie is sincere. And we go on through the entire episode to see his sincerity. So in the abstract, this can sound kind of silly. Those of us who have, in fact, had more experience than they want on the dating apps, if we have listeners maybe rolling their eyes, again, give me a break. But this actually is these are two very sincere people about how they feel about one another. And really the things that he's saying, and I don't think he necessarily realizes it, how it's hitting her as an adopted person, that it may not be hit the same way for people who are not adopted. Did either of you think that at all?
Totally. This sense of meant to be, it is what a lot of us are told. You were meant to be mine. And adoptive parents saying that to us, or I don't think Nick ever said that to me, but I'm sure a lot of us have heard that. I love that you pointed that out. When I heard our grandparents' names are the same, I thought, are you guys going to DNA test to make sure you're not related? Because some of us do that because we didn't know who our parents were, and you grew up close to each other. I mean, like, I don't like the idea that our grandparents' names are the same. Like, for me, I was like, ooh. And so, yeah, that was my first, like, no, thank you.
I never thought about that, but very good point. That is a very good point. Can we just really quickly, there was one note that I made about that Sabrina and Steven, who were talking about the surrogacy and the adoption and all of that. She is an NPE, because I'm an NPE, so I just pulled that out. Her mother didn't tell her that the father she believed to be her father wasn't her real father until she was 28.
I forgot about that, Kristal. I'm so glad you pointed that out. And can you talk about NPE though, like what that is as a terminology for
Yeah,
people?
it stands for non-parent expected.
Yeah, or some people say not paternity event because it's usually the dad that's the misidentified.
It happens often when people do their DNA tests, send in their DNA, and then they find out that the man they believe to be their father all these years is not actually their father. And that's what happened to me as an adoptee. So
I also want to mention that when Catherine steps away from dating Ollie, is the other guy that she's sort of interested in, she does it first. She's like, oh, Ollie and this other gal, they're like really, I'm going to step away first. And I thought, oh, classic. Reject before you can be rejected. And we see some of those behaviors later on in their relationship. Again, I'm just saying, we are talking about her as a character and not as a real person as we discuss these things. No shade to Catherine. So Catherine expresses this need for constant reassurance. Do I relate to that? Even now in my 40s, I have been married for 20 plus years. How many years have we been married? This year's 22, I think. Is that right? Yeah. And do I still need constant reassurance? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So I totally relate to that. No one else?
And I just wanted to say with her, with Ollie, and then her with Freddie, she was totally doing the chameleon thing. I could see her like she was more like sexual with Ollie, and then she was more like emotional with Freddie. And I was like, oh, I totally know that behavior. I'll be whoever you want me to be. Haley, I'm kind of curious as a fellow married lady who also has needed reassurance in her life. How does that play out in like now in your marriage?
I mean, I think now Nick just knows he needs to say more, do more than perhaps others would need. I think that's all I should say.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I hear you. I remember like being like, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" Like when in my younger years, like constantly, yeah, I love you. Oh my gosh.
I have said that. Do you still love me? Do you still when just to be clear, they have given no indication that they do not. There has been no bad behavior, no pulling away, nothing of the sort. It's like, just please tell me you love me.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I don't know. Someone told me they love me and gave me away twice. So,
right.
I just need a little more proof.
I think for me, the some of the features we see in Catherine that really resonated with me was, Kristal, you used the term chameleon. I'll be whoever you want. And for me, very closely aligned to that is I felt like if I need nothing, then I am more lovable. And so never express a need, ever. And we see her at times in having conversations with Freddie. And I wrote down, she would say things like, well, I'm happy, you're happy. As long as you're happy, then I'm happy. And that behavior persists once they come out of the pods, because we have the couples all coming out of the pods, going on holiday together, in which they have a lot of separate time, but then they have a lot of together time as well. And of all of the couples, really, Freddie and Catherine appear to be thriving. As they're getting to know each other in real life, the relationship turns physical right away. They both find one another very physically attractive. They continue to learn about one another and interact. And again, things seem to be going extremely well up until she asks him if he's ever cheated on anyone. And he discloses that 7 years prior, he cheated on a girlfriend. And we see her completely change towards him at that point. What did you both think about that? It was that really it felt to me like a 180.
She did. She changed immediately. But to me, I think it had nothing to do with the cheating. I think it was her way of beginning to create some distance between him and her. From that point forward, I could see her. It's like she didn't even like him anymore. She was annoyed by him. She was irritated by him. And this poor man was trying his hardest to please her and like you can tell he's got an upbeat kind of spirit, but he's also a tad emotionally immature himself. And so I don't think he knew how to communicate what his experience was with her either through this.
They return from holiday. Each of the couples, again, move into apartments that they share. They see one another's homes. We're continuing to see Catherine and Freddie now in a bit of this cycle of her, quite frankly, being not that kind to him at times. Perhaps maybe exactly as you said, Kristal, which is what I thought, this kind of this preparatory pushing away of him. And I want to flash to one of the other couples really briefly as well. As these couples are meeting each other's families, we mentioned Ollie before. Ollie and his partner. His partner discloses early on that she has endometriosis, I believe. And so it is unlikely she's able to have children. And they also have this conversation about what does that mean to you? If in fact I am unable to carry children, what does that mean to you? And he just very, very blithely says, oh, well, foster or adopt. And then he says, my mom's adopted, so it's cool. And she says, great. And we move along from them. So that was another place where, Haley, as you pointed out earlier, we have these conflicting sort of storylines. And for me, what should be like huge, enormous, deep conversations, and I get it. Perhaps that conversation was 5 hours over 3 weeks, and the editors, Netflix showed it to us in 3 minutes. But as a viewing public, we've seen what should be like a very long, drawn out conversation with a lot of input and a lot of thought really happen in the matter of seconds. Oh, you can't have kids? Okay, well, foster or adopt. Cool, great. Move along.
What about this concept of people not wanting to carry kids because they don't want to have the experience of being pregnant or giving birth, and they're like, oh, I'll just adopt. But you just don't want to? Why? Because you don't want to gain weight, you don't want to have stretch marks, you don't want to experience the pain of giving birth, and so you're just gonna take someone else's kid. I don't know, it seems, I don't know, am I alone here on this?
It's very flippant language, and it seems like a flippant decision for something that is a huge impact. Even if we're talking about surrogacy, I know I don't want to get fat or have stretch marks or go through the trauma of childbirth. I'm going to outsource that to someone else who can take on all that trauma for me and provide me with the end product. Right? It's like, sure, Sullivan. Yes, maybe they did have 5-hour. Let's give them the path. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't. People are not thinking that deeply. And if you are so superficial that you don't want to have a pregnancy because of those reasons, I mean.
And to be clear, just to separate the two conversations, in Love is Blind, this was a medical reason for Ollie and his partner. And for Sabrina and Steven, it was more like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I don't really want to, I don't really want to birth children.
I think I'm just bringing in the current pop culture happenings in celebrity land.
100%.
Not to date the show, but that's happening outside right now. So I think that's top of mind. Thank you. This is not a reflection 100%. On this particular show.
As these couples are going through, the wedding date is drawing near, and we meet Catherine's adoptive parents.
I almost didn't want to watch this part because I just couldn't stomach what I anticipated it being like, which is a new feeling for me. One thing that Catherine's mom said was that she referred to her and her husband as strangers, that they were going to be strangers to Catherine, and how would Catherine react to strangers. And I just want to give a shout out to the mother for saying something like that out loud. As an adoptee, that's not something I hear very often. It's not something my adoptive mother would ever admit or say out loud. And so every once in a while, we get these little nuggets of truth. And I really appreciated that. And then she said that they got Catherine and she started smiling and she never stopped. She was just a happy baby.
She lands on perfect. She was really good. Perfect. And during this conversation, Kristal, I too was like, you know what? Good job, adoptive mom. You were saying some of the right things here. I thought, gosh, this poor baby's not going to know who we are. And I was like, okay, great. We are acknowledging this. And they talk about Catherine in a way like she's not in the room. And you see her in this scene. It looks like she's disassociating to me. It looks like she is like, I'm leaving this body right now because I'm not going to be like, I related to that a lot. Even, why am I watching this right now? And then the adoptive mom talks about that Freddie reminds her of her husband, implying that, Catherine is choosing a partner because he's just like her dad. And it's tough. It's tough. Like, it has those elements, Kristal, as you said, of like awareness, and then also like, oh, you're almost there, but not. Yeah. I really felt badly for Catherine in these moments, actually.
Catherine as perfect and smiling baby. Shortly before this meeting, also, and we mentioned before that Catherine and Freddie are going through they're having some bumps at this point in time, and she even says being adopted had a mental and physical effect on me. In one of their arguments, she says this. She doesn't elaborate so much. What she says is, I was bullied, and so I had to stand up for myself. But I thought this was also interesting to see how she understood for herself the impact that adoption has had on her life, and is now manifesting itself in this relationship with this person that she wants to, or she says she wants to be with, and by all outward appearances she wants to be with, but who she's just not that kind to him in the moment, and they're really struggling to communicate.
Yeah, I thought, do you even know the impact it has had on you mentally and physically? Like, I feel like she maybe has a little bit of awareness, but maybe not as much as people like us.
Well, it's interesting to think about that, right? Like, when did I actually get that? And you say those things out loud, and then you're like, some of it is, oh, I've been repeating these patterns for years now. Okay, I should maybe deal with it, right? Like, there's all of these levels of awareness that I've talked on adoptees on multiple times about the newer adoptee consciousness model and all of these touchstone points at which you might come into consciousness and awareness about impact adoption has had in this area of your life. Or anyway, that's an aside. We can link to that in the show notes. But like, there's levels to it. So yes, you can say those words, and then have you been to therapy about it? Have you, like, right? Like, there's all these next steps that can be taken. And do I think those things have not been all dealt with yet? Perhaps not. To our screen, what we're seeing on the screen, perhaps those things have not quite been dealt with yet.
Catherine's 29. I did not connect my own stuff to adoption until I was in my early 40s. And so there were things that I certainly understood about myself much, well before that, but I wasn't connecting them to adoption until my 40s. I think, Haley, when you're talking about that, like, therapy for sure helps. But I know for some other adoptees I've spoken to as well, there's the people that feel like they have a pretty good grasp of like what they're feeling and what they're thinking. But I think until you actually connect it to the fact that you were severed from your mother at an early age, then it's really hard to understand and, quite frankly, like, work through the full impact of it.
Yeah. And I think, it's such a process. And even for me, letting go of the old languages that was how adoption was talked about to me, the whole you're a gift, you're chosen, all of these things. And I felt scared to stop using that language, because then if I didn't use that language anymore, I wasn't grateful anymore. And so there's such a process that I think forever I believe I'm going to continue to come into deeper consciousness around how being adopted has impacted me. I don't ever think it's this thing that we're like, oh, I've arrived. I think, things happen in your life and it draws you into deeper awareness and draws you into deeper awareness. And it's exhausting sometimes. It's exhausting. You're always adopted. And once you open up that Pandora's box, you can't unsee what you have once seen. Do you have anything to add to that, or can I talk about the prenup?
Talk about the prenup.
My son came in the bedroom the other night when I was laying there watching TV, and he's like, "Mom, did Dad make you sign a prenup?" And I was like, "No, I had way more assets than him." So
Did you make
if anyone was
sign a
gonna
prenup?
Did you make him sign a prenup?
I didn't. But it was really interesting, because when he was talking about her potentially asking her if she would sign this prenup, first of all, I have no qualms about that. This guy has worked hard. I think it's fair. This is a very risky experiment that they're on. Like, yeah, I have no issues with him asking her for a prenup or anybody else asking for one. But when I watched this part, I thought, oh my gosh, this whole conversation is rejection, 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 rejection to her. The whole thing was just translating as rejection to her.
Even though part of the discussion, we haven't mentioned this, but Freddie has a brother with Down syndrome, and he included in this conversation about a prenup is he wants to make sure his brother is taken care of. And so it's very it's very measured and kind, and it's a discussion out of love for his family. And yet that's what I saw too, Kristal. She just getting rejected stamped right across her forehead. And so then can we go to the wedding?
Yeah.
Because ultimately we have the wedding day and we're seeing Catherine get ready, and there's a gift from Freddie. He has gotten her these special earrings that match her engagement ring, and he writes her this beautiful letter. You know, when Nick and I got married, we were real young. We didn't do any like special anythings. Like, I don't know. Pinterest wasn't the thing yet. We didn't have any of these like very special moments. And I was like, oh my God, they're gonna get married. And Kat is telling her friends, like, he knows I need reassurance. Again, my birth mother gave me up. That was a rejection. So you always have this fear of rejection. And she just like, this is a sign. Like, everything points, all signs go. They get to the altar. Catherine says, I do. Like, listen, you guys, it was at this moment I was very upset with Sullivan picking this. It really was. All along, I can identify with Catherine. I've been that chameleon. I've been afraid of rejection. And I'm like, you know what? She's going to get the happy ending finally. Oh my God. And then Freddie says no. And I literally got on Voxer that second. Who picked this? Like, I was so mad. I was so mad.
I didn't know you didn't know. I didn't know you didn't know.
I don't care about being spoiled. Why didn't somebody tell me? This is so
We should also say, for people who haven't seen the show, this is the way it's supposed to go, meaning they require these two people to not disclose to one another what they are going to say on the altar. Like, on the altar, you either say yes or no. During the ceremony, that is the way that it goes. And so I want that. I don't want people to think that Freddie like sort of got up there and like was an asshole on the altar. Like, this is actually the way the show is set up.
Yeah, okay. And this might be the first season in the UK, but this show has been on before. And they don't tape them every single second. And like, I hope that Catherine knew he was going to say no.
I don't think she knew.
What's that?
I don't think she knew.
No.
Okay.
No
Okay.
way.
No.
No. Yeah.
Give me this. Give me this. Come on. Just one more second. Give me. I hope she knew. And so that she could paint herself as a victim so we would love her more. And I'm going to say that, and that, yeah, okay, Kristal's rolling her eyes. Okay, but you have not heard the discussions around reality TV and the point of appearing on these shows. It's not to fall in love. It's to build a brand. It's to build your audience and your following. A lot of these people get hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. They can become influencers. They can be set. Like, not everybody gets that edit, but like, dear God, I hope that is what, don't tell me it wasn't. I hope that was Catherine. She was calculating. She knew. She's like, okay, we're not going to get married, but I'm going to say I do. And then Freddie can say no, and I can look like a victim.
Oh my gosh. I would be the doe-eyed dummy thinking that I was going to actually fall in love on this show. I would never think that, oh, it's going to build my brand. It's going to give me, I would never. That's not how my brain works. I literally would go in being like, I'm going to fall in love. It's going to happen to me. Yes. You know me. You know me. I'm a little bit naive.
You're not that naive. Come on. You watch reality.
Wait, I have to say something else. As the sole single person, Haley, I agree with you 100% on the smoke and mirrors and manipulation that is reality TV. Because, you know, like, I watch the behind the scenes stuff. I read the things. I understand that. And also, I think the position in which you sit of never having really been single as an adult, and certainly not single as you're approaching middle age, and that's not me, that's the contestants. I'm well into middle age. But and in this era of social media, dating apps, and all of those kinds of things, the desperation that a lot of people feel in finding a partner. And while there are absolutely, all of these shows are overrun with the exact people that you're talking about, the people that are there to build a brand, to build a platform, to make a name for themselves, to sell the thing down the line, those absolutely, they're all over the place. And in fact, you and I, Haley, have talked about this before, that, these are casting calls. These people, quote unquote, looking for love are found through casting calls. The same casting calls that will get you cast on a network drama or a movie. It's the reason why you see a lot of these people on repeat on dating shows or repeat on reality shows. If you watch reality shows broadly, people show up again. And that is because they're answering casting calls. So all of that is true. And also, some of these shows, not all of them, but some of them, including Love is Blind, draw people who really are looking for a partner. It is my opinion that Catherine did not know he was going to say no.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
She's saying it.
That means her heart broke on TV and I had to watch it. And I'm trying to give her some agency back. Don't say, I did not like this. It made me so sad. And I'm still hurt about it for her because I absolutely can, you see her, she falls in love. She's a kid. She makes herself into someone Freddie would love. So he will keep choosing her. She pushes him away and treats him like shit. And then she still comes back to say, I do. Please, God, choose me. He's going to choose me. And he doesn't. And I'm just like, oh, God, get you into therapy, girl. I cannot watch this.
And then she's like, he goes to hug her and she's like, don't hug me. And I'm like, ooh. But you know what? Okay. Freddie scored extra points when he went and sat down with her parents. He was so respectful. He explained his reasoning, and he's just a good man. He's got some maturing to do, and some emotional maturing to do. But I was like, I appreciated that. Go Freddie. And yeah, poor Catherine getting rejected.
One thing I noticed when, they both leave the altar, they're both in tears. And, Freddie's friends go to him. There is this group embrace, which was nice to see on TV also. Men, very emotional, supporting one another in that. And Catherine's parents and her friends go to her as well. And she does not want them. She wants to be alone. And that also is something that was so resonant to me, that it really says something about how a person has been conditioned to process hurt and uncertainty and grief, which is Catherine's alone. So you have these shots of Freddie and his friends with their arms around one another, and Catherine is by herself. So lest anybody be concerned that, Catherine has suffered this heartbreak, as an adoptee, she is resilient. And in fact, they come back for the reunion 12 months later. They are not together, but they do have a very cordial relationship and are kind to one another and recognize sort of things that either of them could have done differently or better, but ultimately recognizing that it just didn't work out between the two of them. And I will say also, in prep for this episode, I was just curious how Catherine was faring. And so I went on Instagram and found her. And she appears to have a boyfriend, which, you know, bravo. That's not a good thing to say. Kudos to Catherine. It seems to be what she wants. So that's great. That's not what surprised me about seeing Catherine present day. What surprised me is that Haley Radke and Kristal Parke follow Catherine on Instagram.
Yeah,
I'll leave it
followed
there.
her because we were doing the show.
Same.
Like, it
her
was a
Instagram
new
is
follow.
public. Her Instagram is public. You can see her Instagram without following her.
But she's an adoptee. What if I want to interview her one day for my show? I have to follow adoptees. What are you talking about?
Catherine, reach out to Haley at Adoptees On. Catherine, come be on Adoptees On. We'll absolutely listen to your episode.
I will give you the best interview of your life. Promise.
You're gonna get the adoptee conscious edit. It's gonna be amazing.
And then you can tell us, no contract breaks, whatever you can, about your appearance on the show. We'd love to hear. I would love to confirm that you knew, and it was because I can't know if you really got your heart broken there on the, and like, of course they can just date after the show. Of course, if they wanted to. Like, I know. It's just that moment is so crushing. Soul crushing. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Or Kristal, are you ready?
Can I say one more thing, and then Kristal will be ready as soon as I say this thing. I was curious about one other thing on this. Look, because I know we've talked about I'm single. Yes, I'm divorced twice. Is what it is. I'm sure that has nothing to do with being adopted at all. But I was curious about marriage and divorce rates among adoptees, and so I did a little bit of searching. And there's not a lot out there, but I did find a study out of Sweden. Sweden is another country that was for a long time an importer of babies, for babies from all over the world. And what this study found, both domestically and intercountry into Sweden, that the divorce rates among adoptees are considerably higher than the divorce rates among the general population. And the study also found that it has to do with adoption related factors. So I'll link to that. We'll link to that study in the show notes as well.
I'm not surprised.
Same. Me neither. I'm a divorcee too.
Oh, I hope to never be. I have a good one, and I'm lucky, and I realize that I'm a unicorn. No shade to your divorced partners. I'm sure they were, Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Kristal, what's your award?
All right. Today's award goes to Freddie from Love is Blind UK, winner of the sexiest funeral director. He gets the sexiest funeral director award. And I really hope in the future we get to give this award again. All right. Okay. All right. So winner of the sexiest funeral director award, a sentence none of us were prepared to say, because tell me why this man looks like he should be slow motion walking out of the ocean. And instead he's like, yes, I embalmed the deceased. And honestly, it's giving ridiculously hot baby-faced doctor cheerfully asking you to scoot down for a pap smear. Like, sir, this is a vulnerable moment. Why are you so beautiful? So yes, Freddie is hot, but do I want sexy Freddie embalming me? No. Do I want him anywhere near my corpse? Also no. Am I still deeply confused, uncomfortable, and attracted? Unfortunately, yes. Congratulations to Freddie for making death sexy in a way absolutely no one asked for.
I'm struggling at words, and please clip this and send it to Stuart. Adoption Pop is podcast journalist Haley Radke,
filmmaker Kristal Parke,
and cultural critic Sullivan Summer. In researching this episode, we relied on Emily Ferris for Forbes, Dating Statistics and Facts, and Anders Hjern et al., Couple, Partnership and Divorce in Domestic and Non-European International Adoptees in Children and Youth Services Review.
If you like what we do, drop us a rating on your podcast app, find and follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and let us know what you want us to cover in future episodes.
We are taking one such listener request next week when we take a trip to Shondaland on Adoption Pop.